Hello, this is Brandon. He just won the Yu-Gi-Oh! Day event with his Kshatri, undefeated.
Undefeated, yeah.
Yep, and he's going to show us what makes it the best deck in his way.
What makes it the best deck? I feel like this format's actually still relatively undiscovered. I had some interesting techs in this particular deck that I kind of want to show off. It's a very nice mat, very beautiful. Everybody wants it. No, okay. I really do. I don't mind Kshatri. It's not really like my relatively standard way of playing Yu-Gi-Oh. It does feel very control-y, but it goes second, and it goes second hard, which makes this a very, very high contender for the format. So overall, just introducing myself, I'm Brandon. This is my channel. I do deck profiles. I'm known in the long line of being, in B Trooper, and so it's been a while. I've seen like all this extra insect support that's coming out, and I've been still like, I've been cooking up something quite nice for that deck. I've seen like Jesse Cotton and all these other people that are going on insects, and I just like, it gets me super excited to play that deck again. It's really hard when this is like the forefront where they're like locking out back row and banishing your stuff face down. It's very, very difficult. But anyway, besides the long-ish intro, I'll go ahead and do my deck profile. It is 43 cards. I added basically 2 cards I just kind of wanted to test for the day. They ended up performing extremely well, and I kind of want to tell you guys the application. It's very, very standard. You have your 3 copies of Fenrir. The card's absolutely broken. I ended up pulling 2 of these throughout the day. Very, very cracked card. 3 copies of Unicorn. This is like your ultimate starter. You don't want to go... you don't want to slim down on this card. This card's insane.
But you'd rather draw that over Fenrir.
Yeah. I would rather... I like Fenrir a lot. This helps for going second, but this card's your main starter. You want to see Unicorn. This card gets you to your spells, gets you to your main combo lines. A lot of people that are running 2 copies of this, I'm running 3. I just think it's a normal summon at the end of the day, and if people are going to still continue with like Ibli locking and all this kind of stuff, I want to be able to have something that I can normal summon and set up my plays. This is really, really good in the grind game, especially when you're playing Kashtira Mirrors, which I did 3 of them over the course of the day. Kind of crazy. But anyway, so I did that. So that's the main 3 ofs. I was running 2 copies of the Scareclaw Kashtira. This card is insane. This card helps you break your boards. You never really want to have, if you're doing the mirror, if this gets banished face down, you want to just have access to this so that you can actually, negate their stuff and break their board. Running 1 copy of the Tier Limits Kshatri. It helps mill cards. It helps allow you to play through Birth if this is your only card in hand. I like to see this card bump up to 2, maybe. Just because if they give you something that locks you out of... If they give you a monster, it's really hard for you to play, and these cards actually help play through that, because then you can establish, your gosh dang it, Shangri-Ira. It's really nice to have these set up going into the next turn, and then, of course, I consider this card pretty much a brick. You don't ever really want to see this card in your opening hand, though I saw it pretty often. This one is your Trap Searcher, which helps you in your grind game. It helps you against your Labyrinth matchups, other things like that. So
Okay, and that's for the monsters. You believe that's the best?
this is probably the best ratio. If you really wanted to go, you could potentially bump up all of these cards. You can probably try 1 of each. A lot of people do that because you don't ever really want to see multiples of these in your hand. But with my higher count of deck, you don't ever really run into a statistic where you see multiples of these in your hand. Anyway, I was running 2 Nibiru. I saw this card as being a must for the types of decks I was seeing being prepared for the event. just because I did see Kshatriya, I did see Branded, and a whole bunch of and Spright, and all these decks that they have their ways of playing around Nibiru, but having this as a safeguard really, really is super important for the format. But often enough, people were playing around this. This would probably be my only cut for the deck moving forward. It doesn't need to be main decked. It can be side decked. 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Most broken hand trap in the format. This is not. There's no need to explain this hand trap. It was insane, and it's a level 3 tuner, which facilitates a card in the extra deck. Going on to the spell cards, you want consistency, so you want to see your 3 field spell. If you saw the field spell in the mirror match, this card literally breaks the whole freaking game right open. You lock your 5 spell and trap card zones. You lock 5 monster zones. It was insane. And then it helps pop cards like floodgates and stuff when you're activating your Shangri Era. So very, very important card for those kinds of matchups. Anyway, you got Kashtira Theosis. I wanted to see this card in the opening hand. That's why I ran 3 of it. Some people are running 2. At least what I saw in the tournament. But once again, if you run into a mirror match and they banish these, it's really, this card helps you continue to push. And so if you resolve more than one of these in the course of a mirror match, then that is you're going to be winning the game. 3 birth. This card is also insane. A lot of the times I find myself searching out 2 of these, and I'm going to be talking about the mirror match a lot because it's really the only deck that has a hard time
battling against itself.
Yeah, it really has a hard time battling against itself. You're really stemming for playable cards, and then you have to side out a lot of stuff that can make your deck more consistent, like prosperities. A lot of the times these come out of the of the deck when you're playing mirror matches, but when you're playing against every other deck, I felt like my main deck, all I needed was basically I didn't need to change my main deck. My side deck was just to facilitate stuff in the mirror match.
And then as far as going back to the birth, I've seen a lot of lists on 2, but infinitely it's better to have 3.
Exactly, yeah. So you want to have it you want to see it in deck. You don't ever really want to banish it often. I had so many plays where if you I had this, and if I had access to Theosis and then one of the these cards that banish the Theosis, I would grab a second copy of Birth. And so Birth, to establish a Birth and then to have one in hand for later turns, basically made it so that you can continue pushing through your opponent's stuff after they broke your whole board.
Well, yeah, if it facilitates turn 2 and 3, continuance of your plays.
You don't ever really want to have games last longer than that, and majority of the time you're killing them if you're going second. But once again, going back to the mirror match, it's a lot of back and forth. I felt like if you were top decking into any card in your deck, almost if it was top decked, can bring you back into a game, and it's an extremely pushy match. So it was, yeah. Anyway, it's hard to actually determine that this is how the deck should be built going forward. But anyway, I explained Prosperity. This card is just a consistency piece. You want to see this card. It's expensive for a reason. The cards that have been basically moved from the side deck to the main deck, I've decided to do Enemy Controller. This card helps you dodge removal. I see a lot of people running Lance. Lance is really good too, but it makes it I want to find room for it in some cases. But I'm having a hard time. Maybe I'll be taking the Nibirus out for 2 Lance. I don't know quite yet. I'm still thinking about how I really want the main deck to continue and to make it more consistent, dropping it down to the 40 cards. We'll just see what happens. 2 copies of Talents. People were running hand traps galore. I saw 3 Ash, 3 Valor. You had Nibiru still, and so just being able to see this and just add more cards to your hand. If you didn't see Prosperity, or if your opponent was negating your stuff when you were trying to break their board going second. A lot of the times this card just kind of makes it's another card that when activated almost kind of solidifies your winning position. You can rip a card from their hand. You take control of, their XYZ monsters. I wanted to have something, if I was facing the mirror match, to be able to take, a Rise Heart or a Shangri-Ira and then just be able to play off of their cards. So very, very important card for the mirror. The last card for the spell card was a very big tech option. I didn't think it was going to do anything, but this is honestly MVP spell card of the day. It is Magnet Reverse. This card's crazy because it brings back this. And in some situations, it helps you bring back, your Draco Sack, and sometimes you're bringing back your copy of Zeus. It's just absolutely insane. This card doesn't say that it can't attack. It doesn't negate its effects. So I was Kaiju'd. What was it? I was Kaiju'd. I tributed off my own card to enemy controller to take over one of their stuff, and then Magnet reversed my Arise Heart back, and it was just this card's disgusting. I don't know if it's it doesn't come up as often in the mirror, I guess. I don't know. Whenever I was able to establish an Arise Heart and then had this, I just felt safe from everything. They could break my board. They could do whatever they want. They got to get rid of a Rise Heart, but I just bring it right back, and it just puts them in the exact same position, except for they gave me a Kaiju. The trap card's relatively standard. You have your preparation, you have your Big Bang, and then 3 copies of Impermanence. This is essentially the 3 extra cards that I put into the deck, just to have more options to, play around talents and help be able to negate my opponent's stuff as they were playing. Anyway, that's the main deck. Side deck, I think, is relatively standard.
Extra.
Oh, excuse me. Extra deck. Thank you. Extra deck is really standard. I have 2 copies of each of these, 2 copies of this. These cards are basically extra copies of this when you're doing the mirror match. So that's why if you have, Big Eye, you have basically access to your 4th and 5th copies of these cards.
Because you can take theirs.
Yeah, you just basically just take their stuff. You can do what you want with them. You have 2 Zeus because they rip the stuff out all the time. These are cards that I felt like in situational floodgate times, you really want to have these cards as utility more than anything else. These 2 do different things. This card can, pop itself to destroy the skill drain, and then this card gets rid of other floodgates if you manage to actually be able to get into it. And then, of course, your card that helps you lock out your old zones. You don't need multiple copies of this. Back when people were brewing, people thought that you really wanted to have 2 copies of this because they would just rip it out in the mirror match, but you never ever make it unless you're going first. And when you're going second, you're either Zeusing them or you're taking their board and you're just ripping them apart. The other established card is your Baron. Baron really, really helped to kind of do something that Kashtira doesn't do, which it has really, really good chances. It has really, really good time with removal. And this card's like a 2-for-1. It removes something like a floodgate, and it also negates. And you keep shuffling it back and like bringing back an Ash, and you have Birth, and so you can continue to bring this out every single turn to have a fresh negate without having to worry about playing through Nibiru or playing through hand traps or floodgates, whatever it is. This card really, really helps make the deck super solid. And then I have basically 3 copies of Prosperity Targets. I think this is very, very important just to pop their stuff. I didn't think Garuda, the one that draws a card, really made it any better. This card makes it so your Rise Heart can't be destroyed by card effects. And then Donner was basically my out to Ibli. You don't ever need more than 1 of this. If they rip it out, then you just have to take the L at that point. I don't see myself needing to run Lingaribo or any other card that helps get rid of the Ibli, because I already have main deck copy of enemy controller and stuff like that. So that's what the extra deck looked like. This side deck was very, very tailored for the event. And so don't take this into a high consideration, like this is how you have to formulate your side deck. But I feel like if you were to run anything, then at least you can take these cards into consideration. I was running 3 copies of Bell. Bell stops branded expulsion. It basically makes it so you don't get completely locked out of the freaking stupid gimmick puppet card. I was running 2 copies of this. This card's probably coming out of the side deck as well. It was very underwhelming. But I thought that maybe locking when you're playing Kshatriya, when you're playing Kshatri, then you can lock them out of being able to summon anything, but they still rip a card from your extra deck. They still they can banish this card face down. I think Fenrir. Does Fenrir banish any card? Maybe? I don't even know. I haven't read the card. Nope, it says opponent controls. So it's another card that you activate, and they still rip a card from your extra deck if you have a unicorn. So anyway, the spell cards, I was running 1 copy of Triple Tactics Thrust, your additional copy of Talents. These cards generally come out for your Prosperities in the Mirror. I was running the Safeguard against any Floodgate deck, either Trap Tricks or Labyrinth, Mind Control, and Change of Heart for the Mirror. Once again, a lot of Mirror stuff, because I think that it's just really, really hard to play through that deck. 2 copies of D-Barrier. These cards are your Safeguard for...
branded.
You have branded you have Trap Tricks. This card can go into with Trap Tricks because they rely a lot on their XYZs to function. And so now be prepared that they're not affected by this coming out, but you just prevent them from summoning their XYZs is what it is. And then of course the God card is evenly matched. You're ripping apart boards and destroying them, and a lot of the times if you can't absolutely kill them, you make it really hard for them to come back. But anyway, that's the deck. I appreciate you guys sticking around. Likes, comments, subscribe, whatever it is. If you feel like the deck, if you feel like my texts were interesting, fantastic. I have more to come. Thank you so much for your time. Peace.